Prevence Podcast.
So, hello and welcome everybody to the Prevence Podcast. I think it's number 9, Marcel, is it? No. He's looking at me like, bro, you have one job. How do you not know that? No, welcome to the Prevence Podcast, the podcast where we talk to business and legal professionals about their jobs and their lives before the backdrop of digitization and connectivity. Today is actually one of the joyful days where we can talk about law and business, because our guest, Dr. Benedikt Quarch, is indeed a lawyer and a businessman at the same time. Hey, Benedikt, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me. Fine, thank you.
Actually, we have to thank you for inviting us. We are actually right now in your offices in Düsseldorf. We are currently in the offices of the RightNow Group in Düsseldorf, and I have to say, wonderful office. You did a really good job with everything here.
Thanks.
This is... the last interview we did, we interviewed Anna Mork. You know her. She says hi, by the way.
Thank you. I know her very well, yes.
And we did it remotely. And I do have to say that I actually like, now that I've experienced both, I like the face-to-face more than I do the remotely. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm fed up of looking at a screen all the time. How do you feel about that? Are you like a more remote or more personal?
Personal is way better. So I think it's working okay with all this virtual stuff and the virtual conferences, but personal connection you can never replace by any kind of virtual event. So I like it very much that we're sitting here together.
Yeah. Wonderful. So tell me, Benedikt, what do you do?
It's a good question to think about it. So what do I do? As you just mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of RightNow Group. So my two other co-founders are Tom and Philip, and we founded RightNow Group back in early 2017. What does RightNow do? We are a legal tech company, and we are purchasing consumer claims. So we're doing basically a factoring business. If you, as a consumer, have a claim, for example, against an airline, insurance company, against your landlord, or whatever type of company, you can sell this claim to us. We check if it's a valid claim, if how much is the risk associated with this claim, and then we pay you an offer amount calculated by us, and you can keep this money, whatever comes, whatever happens.
Right.
We have this claim then on our balance sheet, and we enforce it with our software, with our legal partners, with our legal department. We enforce it, get the money back, and out of this we have our business.
Okay.
We're doing this, or we started back in 2017 in the airline no-show area. So if you have a booked flight but you do not take it, then you have a refund claim for taxes and fees. Some airlines pay this, but most airlines don't. Although it's written in the law, it's a clear thing that you have to pay it. And so we are buying these claims, giving the customers the money, and then filing lawsuits against the airlines, etc. And nowadays we're also doing this in car damage claim area. We're doing this in the incidental renter costs. What costs are associated with your rent. We are nowadays also doing this with the GDPR claim. So if you are, if there was a data breach and your data was lost, then you have a claim for compensation, and we're buying these claims. And always, of course, we're looking for new opportunities, for new claims which can be put into our factoring structure. Because to answer it very shortly, very quickly, what
Right.
do I do?
Yeah.
I run RightNow as a legal tech company, and RightNow buys consumer claims and thus helps consumers to get access to justice, basically. Maybe some key facts at last. 40 people now. We have 2 offices, Düsseldorf, where we are sitting right now,
Right.
and we have a Berlin office. Also, we had 3 financing rounds by venture capital investors. Some of them are known in Germany. And we are actually closing our 4th financing round tomorrow. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
so when this podcast will be put out, it is already closed.
Nice. Okay.
So, basically these are the key facts.
Okay. Thank you. You mentioned also the founders-in-law a second ago. What exactly is that?
Founders-in-law is one of my initiatives. So maybe I just only talked about RightNow. I can talk a little bit about myself beside this. So this is like a sickness when you are a founder. So you always only think about the company. So besides this, so when we founded RightNow, I was doing my PhD in law, and I still have some love for the legal area in general and for the law, and so I'm also co-editing some law books, etc. And this year I founded the initiative Founders in Law, together with Lina Kravitz, also legal tech
I know her. Yeah,
founder from Berlin. And our goal is just to bring more legal people, more lawyers, more people who studied law to found a company, to really go to the entrepreneurial path, to really live this entrepreneurial spirit. Because I think, for me at least, this is the perfect combination. So here at RightNow, in general in my life, I can do law. So we have big discussions about legal problems, about legal arguments, etc. But at the same time, it's an entrepreneurial life. So I can have the joy and, of course, the challenges of founding company, etc. And with Founders in Law, we want to just present to the people in the legal area that this is a valid option. Because if you study law, usually you think, okay, I will be a lawyer, maybe I go to administration, prosecution, and maybe at the end I will be some kind of judge. But this is everything. There's so much more to do, and this is just these kind of stereotypes we have to overcome. And this is one small step maybe to do this.
Yeah, very cool. So before this interview, Benedikt, like with all the other guests, I did some digging on you guys, right? I did some research on you guys. And by the way, you guys are you're already so famous that you're super easy to Google. So congratulations on that beforehand.
Thanks.
And I read in an article that you passed the bar with the highest results in your federal state. Now, out of personal curiosity, how many points exactly did you get?
Oh, this is a good question. I got 15.6.
Oh, wow. Come on, man. Well, wait, maybe just let's put this into relation for the people that are not familiar with the German system. So in the German system, you have 18 points. Nobody ever gets 18 points. I don't know a single person who ever got 18 points.
True.
Fact is that if you get 9 out of those 18 points, you already pass with what we call a Prädikatsexamen. So you pass with distinction, and you can basically go and do whatever the hell you want. Now, the thing is, Benedikt, can you tell, there's probably a couple of students listening to this podcast, what would you tell the people that are currently cramming for the bar exam or for their LL.M? How do you pass an exam that is so hard without having a mental breakdown?
That's a good question. I don't really know. So, I at least also had one mental breakdown, I think. I remember it very well. So, I think the most important thing what I remember about studying, etc., is always keep going and always focus on the end result, and the horrible time of studying will pass, and then better times are to come. And basically with this kind of focus and concentration, I managed okay. And so this is what I can tell everybody. Keep going. There is hope.
A light at the end of the tunnel somewhere.
Correct.
We don't know how long the tunnel is, but it's somewhere, guys.
It will be there.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you came out, when you finished your studies? Like when you came out of the oral exam and you knew, okay, right, now I finished my studies. Was it like... were you happy? Were you relieved? Or were you like, thank God I have this behind me. Now I can start doing real shit. Like, what exactly were your feelings when you knew you passed the studies?
Yeah, relieved, definitely. Then I was looking to new endeavors and new challenges, new topics. As I said, then I did my PhD in law at the university, and partly at the same time when doing the PhD, I started to found RightNow. So back then, maybe in high school, I never had the clear plan to really found a company or something. But throughout my studies, really this interest in entrepreneurial thinking and founding company became real. So already during my studies, I founded a very small company with Philip, who's one of my co-founders now right now as well. I know him from high school already. And we did some social media agency back then in 2011 when nobody knew anything about social media.
Wow.
So this was very interesting, very nice. And through this and all the studies, etc., really my drive and interest for founding company, etc., came to life. And then when the studies were finished, so to answer your question, I thought, okay, now it's time to really maybe try this, give it a try, and parallel to doing the PhD, small steps, founding the company.
Cool. Benedikt, with the results as solid as yours, you could have basically gone and you could have gone and done anything. You could have become a lawyer at a big law firm, or you could have become a judge or a notary or something like that. But you chose to go down the path that is maybe even a little bit more risky of founding your own company. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, very easy answer. It's so much fun. So I think so. I thought about it, and you have limited time in your life. So, and you have to think about how do I want to spend this time? I want to use it, and what do I want to do? And when I think about myself sitting in some, of course, great office in law firms, and I like these people very much. Who are doing this? A lot of my friends are doing it, and I know all the process, etc., very well. But this would be nothing for me. So I'm interested in legal problems, in legal arguments. I really like trying to find a good solution, but also while having my company. So while growing this small thing, which used to be a very small thing, to a nice up and running company now, and it's just so much fun. Every day is a new day, and every day you have a new challenge, which is of course also associated with what you said. That is a little bit more risky, probably, than maybe also becoming a judge or whatever. But the answer is clear. It's so much fun.
So with every startup, one of the main problems is going to be funding or money. What did you guys do to convince your investors? And do you think the fact that legal tech is growing at the moment helped a lot in that respect?
Yeah, so at the beginning of right now, legal tech was not growing so much. It was the early phase of the legal tech era. So you have to call it like this if you want to call it like this. So what we did, of course, basically what we're doing, the factoring business, etc., is in the world since for a long time. So you have big companies selling their claims against consumers to big factoring companies, which then enforce the claim. And we are doing it the other way around. So we are purchasing claims from consumers and then enforce them against big companies. So this is the innovative thing of the business model. And of course, it's very easy to do it in a digital way. And this is why basically it's legal tech. And what did we do to convince the investors? So, of course, we try to present a solid business plan, to present good numbers which match and which come out. And then, of course, we have a great team. And I think we're always focusing on legal areas in which the markets are pretty big, in which you can really achieve a lot, and which are not so much on the so much known already. So, for example, the no-show airline claim. Nobody did this before. So nobody even cared about this claim before we came in the market, and we tried to really approach as many customers as possible. So I would say combination of solid numbers, good business plan, a great team, and of course the vision to really address markets which were not addressed so far. So there's a big opportunity, and with this we could convince some investors now, which we are very grateful for. And then of course now you're absolutely right. So legal tech is becoming much more prominent, much more in the focus. Even though with the classical venture capital investors, VC investors still a little bit hesitant. So I would say, for example, fintech or some other areas, they get much more funding than legal tech, because of course in the legal tech sector, it's pretty difficult to internationalize. So just going everywhere in Europe is easier said than done, because you need to comply with all these regulations in every country, etc. So it's not that harmonized then, for example, in the banking area or something. But in general, it is true. So it is becoming more prominent. Venture capital investors are looking into it, are investing into it. But of course, I wish there would be much more than it is today. And I think if also the politicians, etc., would recognize that legal tech is such an important and such a growing field, and also lighten some regulations and help to really improve a level playing field for all actors in the legal market, then venture capital investors would go for everything possible there. But due to it's logical. Legal tech is closely connected to regulations, etc.
Sure.
So it's still a little bit hesitant, but I think there were some improvements made, and we're on the right way there.
Yeah. And I also think we talked to a judge, an investigative judge from Cologne, and we asked him why it's taking so long. And he basically told us that he thinks that because especially the courts, they don't feel like they really need to adapt to legal tech now, because the people still have to come to them. There is no nudging or anything. But I still think that legal tech is going to grow much faster than we might think. It might be more difficult for us. Like for example, if I tell someone, hey, I think that an online court will be the norm 10 years from now, people laugh in my face, right? But at the end of the day, I think it was Richard Susskind who said, not that I want to compare myself to Richard Susskind, but he said, and this was back in 1996, he said something along the lines of, I think in the future, the client and counsel will interact mainly over email. And he said that to a time where people were thinking that the email is still a trend and will blow over, And now look at us, the lawyers telling their clients, hey, you know what? No, I don't have any time. Just drop me a DM. I need to finish recording my TikTok video. So, stuff has changed.
True.
Right?
Yeah. And talking about the online courts, etc., even though I personally don't know if it really will be the reality in 10 years, but for sure it should be. It should be for sure. So there's so many possibilities to really improve the system. And when I look at our cases, so we file thousands of lawsuits every year, and most of them always look the same. It's always about the same story. There's no surprise, nothing in it. So it can be done so easily online.
Yeah.
It can also be done automatically. You don't need a judge who studied for years, who passed bar exams, who maybe did a PhD, and then he or she sits there and thinks, okay, what is this crap? This is so easy. Why did I study for this? So. My position on this is clear. So there should be online courts better yesterday than today, and also even further going into this. So some automation, etc., in the court system. There's no question. So we only need people's minds to think in this way, and this is probably the toughest challenge.
Yeah. So, Benedikt, I want to give our listeners a couple of insights into the topics that you guys handle here at RightNow. So, here's a little scenario for you. Let's say it's January 2020. It's super cold outside, and I think to myself, hey, I really, really need a vacation. So I book and I pay for a flight to, in Germany, we would call it a Pauschalreise. So I travel to some really popular destination. And I fast forward 2 months. The worldwide pandemic hits us hard, and I receive an email from the airline stating that unfortunately my flight will not take place like all other commercial flights due to the high security risk, but they do not offer to reimburse me for the tickets. However, they do offer me a voucher for the next possible flight to my destination. The thing is, I'd actually much rather have my money back, but I'm unsure if I have a claim and if it would just be safer to take the voucher and hope that the airline doesn't go bankrupt in the next year. But then I remember, look, I actually know someone who's a specialist in that area, and I call you. So, Benedikt, what do I do? Do I take the voucher or not?
It's a good question. So, and the answer is very clear. Do not take the voucher, but enforce the claim you have. So you have a claim. This is 100% sure. If the airline cancels your flight, or the tour operator cancels your packaged travel tour, which is called Pauschalreise in German, you have a claim for full reimbursement. of the price you paid, even though the pandemic, as you said, is extraordinary circumstance or whatever. But it is not regarded as extraordinary under the law. So the European Commission made this clear. You always have a claim for reimbursement in these cases. So especially regarding packaged travel, the federal government and the federal parliament, they wanted to issue some kind of obligation voucher so that you were forced to take the voucher and do not have a claim anymore. But this was not possible due to European Union consumer law.
Okay.
So the European Union said no forced vouchers. Vouchers can be taken voluntarily. So if you really think, okay, maybe in the summer I will fly again, you can take the voucher. But I would always go for enforcing the claim and getting your money back. Actually, I had the same situation. So
Really? Okay.
I had a flight booked to Venice, and that was cancelled. But as it's probably always the case, so for the right now and for our customers, I'm fighting very hard. But for me personally, I forgot about it. So
Nice.
unfortunately, still need to enforce the claim. So, but the answer is pretty clear, I would say. And in this regard, of course, we had many cases. So thinking about the year 2020, especially March and April, we had so many cases. This was crazy. But of course, after this, it dropped down a little bit. So because no flights, no shows, etc. So this was pretty clear. But then we developed a new special product for the COVID-19 pandemic, which is about package travel, about tour operators, and especially about vouchers. So the question is very great because we are buying the vouchers. So if you have a voucher and you don't want it and you want the money, we're buying the voucher. So, but this only as a side note. So it is indeed a very practical and very important topic which you raised. But always the answer would be go after your money.
Right, yeah. So guys, you heard it here. Don't take the voucher. Rather sell it to Benedikt or to the RightNow Group.
Right.
So this, you just mentioned this is a very good example of a topic that is hot right now due to the current situation. And you already named another very, very good example of how your company adjusted to COVID. And it's extremely important nowadays that companies shift their perspective in order to accommodate the current circumstances. Did you guys do any other stuff, or did you guys accommodate this current situation in any other way that you would like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, so as I said, of course, there are always 3 to 4 aspects to COVID from our perspective, I would say. The first one is extreme growth and extreme number of cases in March and April. So this was really tough for us to work on these cases and to really make all customers happy. But I hope we managed at least. So this is the first one. Second one, of course, we had to change our cash inflow planning, our liquidation planning, because airlines basically stopped paying for several weeks and months. And so, we need to adjust our cash inflow plan because we're always cashing out first, so giving the customer the money.
Right.
And then later on, we get the money back. So it's always a crucial point in our business model to really plan the cash inflow, plan the cash flow in general. So we had to adjust there. Third thing is we thought about new products, new options. I just described one to you. And the fourth, of course, is home office, etc. So we went to complete home office in the first wave. And now we have basically 1 office day per week, more or less. So this is, of course, a big change, I think, for everybody in the working world. And as we said at the beginning, I think virtual virtual events work better than I expected. So when we went to home office back then, I thought, oh God, now everything is going down. But it didn't. It worked out very well. But still, I like the personal connection, etc. Of course, more.
Yeah. When we talked to Anna this weekend, I asked her about how she felt about launching her magazine, The Legal Layman, in a city like Würzburg, and how tech is helping her in that endeavor. She answered something along the lines of, tech in Germany, Dani, I feel like in Würzburg, the internet hasn't even arrived yet. So, how do you feel about digitization in Germany, especially in the legal area? Now, you just told me about that you think that the politics should change in some way. Yeah. Or what is? Do you think? What do you think are the main bottlenecks of why legal tech is not as advancing as fast as some would like?
Yeah. So regarding legal tech, I think there are three factors. So first one is people's minds. So you just have the lawyers, you have the professors, you have everybody who still lives in a system basically created by Bismarck in 1866 and following. So the law studies were created back then, and the thinking about the legal word, etc., was created back then, and it never really changed until today. And this is maybe or can maybe also be explained because if you're going or when you're going to the university, etc., your role models always live in this old system. And then you adapt to it, and you think, okay, then I also go only for these classic jobs. Right. I also think about, okay, why do we do digital things? We need to have printed out folders, etc. Right. It's much better. So it's always the system keeps on living. So people's minds, but there's change in this. And I think the change is in the right direction, and we have to keep going there. The second thing actually is politics, indeed. Mm-hmm. So there were many court rulings, court judgments about legal tech regulation, etc. So we have the German Supreme Court ruling in fall of 2019 about some kind of the German Legal Services Act. But still, it's in many cases it's unclear. The courts are of different opinions, etc. So this is just like a stone in the way. So you really have to overcome this. And now the federal government issued some drafts for some kind of act, some kind of bills, but these are only very small steps. So some kind of improvement, some more information duties, etc. But not a real thing to really say, okay, we acknowledge legal tech, we think it's a good way, right, and then we want to go there. Yeah. Third thing, of course, is technization, digitization in general in Germany. I think it has become way better than it used to be several years ago, but still, it is if you compare it to other countries, for example, here Estonia, etc. So, right, or even though if you go to the US, etc. In 2013, I talked to a federal judge in the USA, and he told me, okay, I have no paper in my court. It's completely paperless court in 2013.
Wow. Okay.
And now go to court here. There's no paperless court at all.
Yeah.
So
my friend Thorsten, the judge, he actually told me that he still knows lawyers that do not work with a computer. Yes. Only with paper. Yes. Just to put, the juxtaposition. Look at that. Oh my God.
You have to think about it. So these are the three topics in general that just are challenges for legal tech, I would say. But when you have a look at the last years, for when we started 2017 to today, it is a huge step. So really, there are developments. People are going for this, are thinking about this, are talking about this. Also, politicians and members of the ministries, of the federal ministries, are acknowledging this and thinking, okay, we have to go for this. So, for example, we have Zina Dörr. She's her. So she's from the Federal Ministry of Justice, and now she was also awarded European Women of Legal Tech, etc. So these are the right steps because we see official state member state workers, etc. They are acknowledging this and going in the right direction. So I think this is a wonderful path, but we have to keep on going. Yeah. And the end is not in sight so far. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question that we ask all our guests. What has been the biggest fail of your career, Benedikt?
The biggest fail? I can answer it pretty clear. It was not a real fail due to my personal failures, but it was a big fail in our company's history also. So I told you that we started with the flight no-show claims. Yeah. But back then when we started, it was still possible to not claim only for the taxes and fees, but for 95% of the ticket price. Mm-hmm. Because there was a ruling of the German Supreme Court from 1985 which allowed this. And so we always bought the claims and enforced 95% of the ticket price, which is very much. Taxes and fees are between 10 and maybe in some cases 75% of the ticket price, but never 95%. So it was really a good thing for us, really big claims. And then we just scaled up and with great marketing, etc. And one day, it was March 19, when in the Handelsblatt, with a big article saying, okay, Carsten Maschmeyer invests in this company, a great company. They are buying flight no-show claims because of the 95% rule. And then in March 20th, there was a ruling of the German Supreme Court which abolished this ruling from 1985.
Oh my God.
So, which basically then said, okay, only taxes and fees can be claimed back, not 95% of the ticket price. So we had in the Tagesschau, German Supreme Court ruled no ticket price anymore. So one day after we had the Handelsblatt article. But so this single thing would be biggest fail. But then we managed, and on March 21, so one day after, we had an article in Focus, which is a print magazine in Germany, which says these guys are coping with a great judgment of the German Supreme Court. They used to buy tax and fees claims all along. so we managed to really present this in a great way.
Cool. Wow, okay.
And since then, actually, from nowadays perspective, it was very good for our business model because due to this, we can scale much better. It can be standardized much better. But when I remember March 2028, it was a black day.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. Wow. Let me ask the opposite question. So, of course, everybody has big failures to show for, but also a lot of success. What's the biggest success you had so far? What makes you the happiest?
That's a very tough question. So it's not as easy as the failure question. Of course, so many things come to my mind in this regard. First, I would say building RightNow company in general. So when I remember spring 2017 and we went to the notary and said, okay, now we found the company, I would have never thought that we come to 40 people, to 2 offices, to really great financing. So basically this would be my biggest success. And the second biggest was finishing my PhD and publishing a good outlet.
Cool. So normally we're getting to the end of this interview, and normally we would ask a personal question, but you already told me in the preparation that you are neither a rock or a rap fan, which broke my heart. You broke my heart here, Benedikt. What do you do?
It's true.
So the personal question I'm going to ask you is: do you have any travel destination in mind once this whole Corona mess blows over?
The answer is very easy. Kenya is the answer. So we actually had a trip booked for. I think right now I would be there. Oh. So for December.
Did you get the money back from the flight though?
We did. Yeah. Actually, it was very easy.
Really?
So this I didn't forget. So about Venice trip I forgot. So we had this great safari trip, etc. planned, and now of course obviously was cancelled. And this would be a first destination when travel restrictions, etc. are lighted again.
Yeah. Let me check the time. If we still have 7 minutes. I'm going to hit you with another anecdote to end this interview with. Actually, Marcel and me, we're brothers. We used to live in Africa. Actually, we went to Kenya in, I think it was 2013. Marcel was living in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. I came to visit him. We went to Kenya and we went to Mombasa. We were chilling at the beach, and there's this local guy coming up to us saying, "Hey guys, what's going on?" So we have a talk with him, and all of a sudden he asks us, "Hey guys, where are you from?" And he says, and we say, we're from Germany. All of a sudden he goes, schönen guten Tag, nett Sie kennenzulernen. In the most pristine, impeccable accent ever. And I'm like, how though? Turns out that a tourist or a friend of his left him a cassette recorder with a cassette tape inside with German phrases, which he learned off by heart and now speaks German with a better accent than most Germans I know, right? So just
Great story.
Yeah, so
Great
just heads up, Benedikt. If you're in Mombasa, if you're in Kenya the
I'll
next
look
year,
for
whatever,
this guy.
exactly, or if you're just chilling on the beach, right, and you're wondering why everybody is so fluent in German, that's probably because that cassette tape is still in rotation. So just so you know, no,
Right.
Benedikt, thank you so much for being our guest today. This was a really, really great interview. The very last question: what advice do you have for future entrepreneurs or future lawyers who might be thinking of founding their own company?
Yes, I would say always be brave and don't follow the stereotypes. Don't follow the classic minds which still believe in Bismarck's system. But go besides the big streets. Think about outside the box. Be brave and just do it, and then you will have success.
Cool. So, dear listeners, that was Dr. Benedikt Quarch for you. Thank you very much for listening to the Prevence Podcast. My name is Daniel, and we're out. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Prevence Podcast.